Hi everyone, and welcome back to Spill the Chai with KCL Hindu Society.
I know the perfect way to solve this.
Have you ever been called a coconut?
Yeah.
You can't say that, you'll bait the person out.
They're alright.
So would she spin you in the middle of the road?
Why is that an insult?
There's a bit of cheeky advertising to all the guys out there.
Why are you speaking to boys? Focus on your education.
I can't help it. I'm sorry, man.
That's exactly what a cool Marcy would do.
And literally, I was gonna faint.
You should go out and live your life.
I think that's good.
Okay.
That's good.
Hi Sham, how are you doing?
Hi, Vasudha. How are you?
I'm alright. So what have you been up to in the past couple of weeks, I guess?
It's been an interesting one, I think, because
Yeah.
we were in lockdown and then now we're sort of in it, but we're not. I don't really know, like, do I stay at home or do I not? Can I go out? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, it's been an interesting one.
I think I stay at home majority of the time anyway. But then because of Eat Out to Help Out, I've been going out.
Yeah, literally. I mean, like, if you look at my, on your phone, you have that Steps app.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Wednesday is like 6,000-7,000 steps, and then the rest of the days are like 2 steps or something. Probably like me getting out of bed.
When you don't leave the house, I just don't walk. It doesn't count the steps when I'm at home.
Mate, even at home, I'm just like stuck in front of the TV or something.
Yeah. But like genuinely, I'm seeing it as like a once in a lifetime opportunity to get 50% off every meal. So I've been
funny.
making sure at least once a week I just go out somewhere.
But you know what the worst thing is, right? So I thought we would go to like places like Hakkasan and like expensive places.
Yes, I was literally thinking, oh, let me reserve Hakkasan, but I never got round to it.
My mates were like, oh, let's go to Spoons. And I'm thinking, yo, like the food there is £3-4. How much discount are you gonna get? Like,
yeah, it's because Hakkasan is just completely unaffordable otherwise, but you could at least try and make it a little bit more affordable just so you can see how the other side live, you know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, I've rinsed it if I'm honest, I'm not gonna lie.
Did you go to that place you took, what was it you talked about in the first episode, the one in Leicester?
Indigos.
Did you go?
No, I honestly didn't, like... The thing is, my parents, so we usually in Leicester go to like the same 4 or 5 restaurants all the time, but now we've sort of forced my parents to go out to different places now, and even like mates wise, like me and my mates go to the same restaurant every single time.
But you know, when you find a reliable place, you don't really want to try anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a good vibe there. So you get to know the people and stuff. It's nice.
It reminds me of like when I was a kid. So I'm from East London. So the motive every weekend would be you go to the temple and then serve on above and afterwards. That was every weekend. That was the motive for my family.
That's hilarious.
But like then Taste of India opened up across the street.
Oh no.
And I still remember we spent at least like a month debating, should we try it, should we not, should we try it? So I don't know, that just reminded me of that. Yeah, of course, and actually it's really good. Yeah, it's definitely on the same level as Sarvan Abhavan, I think.
Do like a good Sarvan.
Yeah, I do. The rava. What's your order at Sarvan Abhavan?
You know what, I usually go for the cheese dosa.
The cheese one or the paneer dosa?
No, like just cheese, and I think it's for kids. And every time I order it, the lady's like, oh no, you mean cheese masala dosa? And I'm like, no.
Wait, so what cheese is it? Like cheddar?
The one on the kids menu. I don't even know, it's like red Leicester. Really? Basic. I don't know, it's amazing. It's so good.
I do like the paneer dosa. I like that north-south fusion that's going on.
Yeah.
But I always, the classic like for me is onion rava dosa.
I've never had that,
Sham, you're missing out, man. You have to try it. That is the classic. And if I'm extra hungry, I'll get the masala as well.
Oh, too.
Yeah, they'll put potato in it as well. But that's for days when I'm really hungry. Yeah.
No, I like getting you know when you order a masala chai at Sarvan Abhavan, they give you like 2 cups and you're meant to pour it into the other one.
Yeah.
Oh mate, what an experience.
Oh, that proper like reminds me of my grandma when we do that.
So like, what else have you been doing over lockdown?
So in the evenings, I've just been watching Netflix, man.
You know what? I think all of us have really, like, that's the one thing that's gotten us through this whole phase. Yeah. I mean, World War I, World War II, they had sort of Winston Churchill making inspirational speeches to get to people through this war. And for us, I think it's Netflix, really.
It's just Netflix, yeah. It was literally just one after the other. So I finished Breaking Bad, done. Next, Money Heist, done. Next, like, it was just next.
I feel like we've finally had an opportunity to sort of like sit down and binge everything.
Yeah, because so I get recommendations from everywhere. So I always feel like I want to watch this, I want to watch that, but I just don't get time to. But like now I'm actually watching, it's like a catch up for me catching up on all the recommendations.
I swear Breaking Bad came out like 10
Yeah,
years
I did. This is how long I've been waiting to try and catch up with Breaking Bad. Oh my god! But yeah, Breaking Bad was really good though. I would recommend.
Yeah, and I've seen season 1 of Money Heist, and that was really good.
Amazing.
And
yeah.
I didn't want to watch it in Spanish, but then when I did, it was like incredible.
Yeah, man.
So
I think the dubbing just ruins the vibe.
I forget that I'm reading subtitles.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand it already.
It's almost like you're reading a book, but the story, instead of you having to visualize it, you can see it on the screen. That's how it's weird.
Exactly.
But that's how I think of it.
Because you are just reading it and you're barely watching
Yeah.
the sort of pictures. But I don't know how they've done it, but it's
But that's
crazy.
the only thing about subtitles is because I like to do something when I'm watching Netflix. Like I can't, like I hate when my hands are just empty and not doing nothing. I couldn't do that with Money Heist because I had to be reading. I couldn't be looking at something else.
I noticed that because I usually just go on Instagram or something whilst I'm watching. And then I would go on Instagram on my phone, like subconsciously not realising that I'm not reading anymore. And then I'll be like 20 minutes in and be like, yo, I completely don't even know what's going on.
Yeah. There was a lot of conversation about Indian matchmaking. Did you watch it?
You know what? I didn't want to jump on that bandwagon. But no, I did. And honestly, I hate to say this, I think it was one of the best programs I've seen in my life. Genuinely, like, it was so captivating.
I mean, it was quite controversial in some ways, but
yeah, it
was interesting to see. And it's weird seeing all this marriage talk and culture that you kind of discuss with your friends.
Yeah.
Someone's portraying that for everyone to see on TV.
And I think, especially with our generation, I think we cut off the possibility of an arranged marriage or something how Seema Auntie organises these kind of weddings, but the way they showed it was as if they completely brought it back to us.
Yeah, it was kind of like traditional but with a modern twist on it.
And like it fully re-normalised it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. I'm not sure what I think about it, but I think it's definitely created a debate.
At the start I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is gonna be bad. Like, especially when there were some bits where she was saying, oh, she's fair, she's tall, like it was quite superficial at the start, the way that she did it.
The way they portrayed it was as if she was right to say that, if that makes sense.
But I think over time, I think I grew to like the actual characters a bit more. Well, they're not characters, they're real people, but but as in their ideas of what they want in a marriage, like, and it was also nice to them, the arranged marriage was not them settling, but more kind of, oh, this is what I want and this is going to get what I want exactly, which I thought that was cool. I liked that. It wasn't like, oh, I haven't found anyone, so I'm just going to settle with an arranged marriage. Do you know what I mean?
They were willing to do it, but they were still picky about who they chose, which was really good.
And rightly so, I think.
To be honest, I think that's not a bad way of doing it, to be fair.
Speaking of Indian matchmaking.
What a coincidence. Our guest today was on Indian Matchmaking. He is my favourite character from the show. Not character.
He's a real person. So this is Dilip Aidasani. Hi, Dilip.
Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you, Dilip.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. It's my first interview from the show, so...
Oh, wow.
I'm a little excited.
No pressure for us.
Yeah, I'm not as popular as the other characters.
No, nothing like that.
So Dilip, just for the listeners, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so, I'm a native New Yorker. I was born in Queens in 1981. When I was in first grade, my parents moved out to New Jersey, so, suburban little town outside of New York City. And I went to grade school there, and then went to college at Columbia, as you might have heard on the show.
Oh, wow.
And then I went back for business school there, too. And, outside of a year last year when I was living in Seattle, I've basically been in New York City my entire life.
Wow. And then what do you do in New York?
I worked at American Express for over 10 years. And after I graduated from business school, which I was doing at the same time, I was doing the executive program, so taking a full course load on weekends while I was working full time. After I graduated, I quit my job to travel the world. And, since Yeah, so when I came back, I've been working for myself, sort of freelance consulting ever since.
How was it at Columbia?
It was great, and it was a weird experience, I think, going to college in New York City. So I think it wasn't like what you hear most of the time, where it's like, you know, fraternity scene, sorority scene. Like it's just like, you're in New York City. Why would you limit yourself to that world?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's quite similar to studying in London, really. Like,
Yeah.
we are all part of the greater city life, I think, and it's not. You don't really get those like sororities or whatever you get in America.
Yeah, here, like in the rural areas, or like, you know, if you go to college outside of the city, all the partying revolves around the fraternity or sorority scene.
Because in London and the UK in general, we have, especially when everyone's a fresher, they come in, I think you guys say freshman, but when everyone's a fresher, we come in and we move into like dorm halls. And so we don't have like these big houses where there's like 15 people living in them.
Yeah.
We have like 6 people to a tiny little flat and we share the kitchen.
Yeah.
So there's kind of I don't know, was that kind of a similar living experience for you?
Yeah, it was. So for the freshmen at Columbia, they all live on campus, and it's basically like a big apartment building. And, you know, my setup was like two-bed apartment. So it's like 4 people and sharing one bathroom. But then there's like 20 or 30 of those on a floor.
Wow.
Yeah. And more specifically about the shows, I'm really interested how it sort of came about, how you approached it. What was the process?
I had a friend that sent me this like casting call. It's like, you know, looking for South Asian singles. Like, are you looking for love? Are you, you know? And you know, my friend in LA sent me this. So I guess it's more of a common thing in Los Angeles to come across casting calls. And you know, like I said, I was living in Seattle at the time last year.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough to move to a new city. I was a little lonely, and you know, initially I like dismissed it. I was like, oh no, that's like, I would never go on a reality TV show. That's silly. And then, you know, just out of boredom, I was like, you know what, why not? I sent in my application, and next thing I know, you know, the casting director reached out and, you know, went through that process. You know, my perspective was that I'm on the dating apps, Tinder, Hinge, Bumble. My radius is set to 2 miles. You know, and you know, for this like Netflix matchmaking experiment or project, I think they called it. You know, if there's this matchmaker person who claims to have someone for me outside of those 2 miles, why not?
Yeah, and did that sort of go through Seema Auntie or was it through Netflix?
It was primarily through Netflix. I did speak to Seema Auntie. Like, I had like a 15-minute like FaceTime call with her, or WhatsApp video.
Yeah.
You know, where you know, I think I joined later on in the process based on the interviews I've heard from other people. So I think maybe at that point they already knew they were looking for more men for Aparna, and I guess I happened to match her criteria.
So if you don't mind me asking, was arranged marriage something you ever considered even before?
No.
Or was it like, I'm just going to meet someone, fall in love, go through that kind of process?
Yeah, no, I had never really considered it. You know, my mom has asked me millions of times throughout the last 2 decades. And, you know, I've always been like, no, never. Like, Mom, I'll find someone on my own.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I think for part of this process, it was like, oh, okay, like, I'm going to control this myself. My mom was not involved, you know, because I don't know who she's going to share my information with, who she's going to bring back, and just avoid all that awkwardness. And this was just a way of, I guess, me taking control of it, like, you know, working through the process myself. But also, you know, I didn't view it as like arranged marriage. Right? Like, it's like matchmaking. I just viewed it as another date, right? But instead of going on a date within that 2 mile radius, they flew me to Houston to meet someone.
And sort of what was your family's reaction to you going on the show?
My mom was pretty thrilled. You know,
my son's gonna be famous.
Yeah, well, I think they definitely like have seen it, and one of my friends told me like they ran into my dad, and like They're like, oh, how do you feel now that your son is famous? And my dad was like, he's only in the show for 5 minutes.
No, but I thought it was a really good 5 minutes, and I thought that your date with a foreigner was one of the most interesting dates. Like it was really awkward.
Yeah, and it was definitely less awkward in real life. The perception I think that came off was that I was trying to get out of there as soon as possible. Which definitely was not the case. We were on camera for 2 hours.
Wow.
Like the date itself, and then we went out once the camera's off, or we went out to dinner, and so we were out for probably 5 hours total.
No, one of the things that was in the show, I realized Aparna is crazy about travel, and even you said, you took some time off to go traveling yourself. I don't know when you guys were. Of course, that must have come up in conversation. Was it like a little competition, maybe? That's what I was wondering.
No, well, it wasn't. Like, so we both, like, traveled extensively. Like I said, I quit my job to travel. And the way that conversation, the relaxing for 10 days thing came up is we were talking about, the places we've been. And she was saying her style is more to take, a 3-day weekend and go to India or go to London from Texas, and I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, you're gonna spend half your time on the plane and completely mess up your sleep schedule. And she was also saying she is working on this tourism side hustle that she has, and so she's wanting to do like everything within those 3 days. Whereas, I don't like going on vacation and coming back from a vacation feeling like I need a vacation. Have you ever heard that? Like, I need a vacation for my vacation, and I'm not that guy. And so I had, I guess within the time, like a little bit before the date was filmed, I had spent a month in Bali.
Wow.
Nice.
So, that's more my vibe. And so, she was talking about these 3-day trips. And so I was like, oh, well, what would you do for a 10-day relaxing trip? I didn't realize I was saying relaxing, but then she called it out. Yeah. Like, why did you say relaxing? I was like, oh, well, now why are you calling it out?
Was it weird being on a date but being filmed at the same time?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, the awkwardness that you pick up on, or the nervousness, was because of the cameras. It wasn't because I wasn't having a good time with Aparna. Got the impression that she kept cutting me off, and I never picked up on that, like, until, like, I saw it. I was like, it might have happened once or twice, but in the course of that 2 hours, it didn't happen. And then, the other thing at the end where I said, I'm relaxed now that this is all over, I was referring to the cameras.
Oh, okay.
I was not, like, relaxed to, because I was going to go out to dinner with Aparna.
They were a bit cheeky.
Do you think they made it more dramatic on purpose in that sense?
Maybe. I think, honestly, the conversation on camera was probably boring. Like, everyone asks, is it scripted? It was not scripted. The only thing that was scripted was, like, I got to meet Aparna for 30 seconds. And they're like, okay, now walk back outside and walk back inside like you're looking for her. I'm like, okay, it's going to be the person with the cameras around her.
What were your actual thoughts on Aparna? Like, I know in the show it made it sound like you weren't so interested, but what were the genuine thoughts?
I thought she was great, I enjoyed our time together, and, like I said, the date off camera was way better. We had a more free-flowing conversation. They did ask me, like, oh, would you be interested in seeing her again? I would be like, we got to know each other for, like, a few hours. The one concern I had was about the not being able to relax. I was like, okay, this might be antithetical to my, general demeanor. So that might be a deal breaker, but, it was a good match on paper. She, you know, I did want someone career driven, someone who knew what they wanted, someone, you know, smart and can talk about lots of different things, and that was her. But, you know, again, I do like to relax, and I just have a, you know, pretty casual demeanor.
Do you think how they portrayed Aparna and they portrayed you was quite sort of realistic, or do you think they dramatized how you were shown?
I mean, there's definitely, like, you can dramatize it by the way you edit it, right? You know, so there's definitely selective editing. You know, some of the things that where people are saying like, oh, she comes off as like uptight or like too choosy. I found that, you know, in person, I thought it was more like, you know, deeply sarcastic, and you know, I think that part of her personality comes across way better, and you know, seeing how she's handled the attention since the show aired, you know, makes me more impressed with her.
Do you get a choice at all how you would be portrayed on the show?
Nope. You do not, and you know, that's definitely one of the most things I was most nervous about going in. You know, I definitely had second thoughts going in. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I going on a reality show? You know, but you know, my general, like, my explanation, like, well, it's like Netflix is classy. It's not The Bachelor. It's not Fox. You know, they're not gonna like throw some twist at me. And meeting the creator, you know, she's brown woman who's gone through the process herself, has been nominated for an Oscar. You know, when she says, I'm not trying to make people, you know, I'm not trying to make like Indian people look bad. You know, I took her for her work. And but yeah, you know, I think with editing, and most reality shows or docuseries or whatever, you know, you want to call it, is there's a certain narrative that they have to create, and you know, they do they create that narrative with the content that they have. You know,
but I think it was quite respectable the way they portrayed everybody. I wouldn't have even thought of it as a traditional reality TV program. It wasn't like the Kardashians or anything.
Exactly. You know,
it was very real, I thought.
Yeah, like throughout the, you know, production, they referred to it as a docuseries, and I think the reality show stuff has just, I guess, been what people call it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the actual process of Indian matchmaking, the process of approaching a Seema auntie or an equivalent to go about such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. You know, like I said, my interactions with Seema auntie were minimal throughout the film. I think on paper, I met her criteria, you know, like, actually have no idea if it was any deeper than I'm Cindy, she's Cindy, let's put them together. You know, I don't know what Seema Auntie's process was there, but maybe it was deeper than that. And, you know, at watching the show, there's definitely some problematic elements, I think, of our culture in general. But I think part of it is maybe we're more willing and vocal to say these things.
I agree.
You know, when people are swiping aimlessly left or right, there are all these like unconscious biases at play. You know, like you might not think about it, but you might be swiping left on the darker skinned person. And I think
that's a very good point.
There are studies about that. I think in Aziz Ansari's book, right? Like they talk about.
I love that guy.
People that are swiped left upon most often are Black women and Asian men. There are these stereotypes about Asian men that, you know, that are shown in this show, right? Like that we are this patriarchal society, and that my husband's going to expect me to cook and clean and all that, which I think is very outdated. But we see in studies that these things are there, whether you say them or not.
I don't know whether it's controversial or not, but I think it was definitely an issue raised with the show, and it was the fact that people like Seema auntie were, you know, with, I think it was it Nadia her name was, where they said, oh, you know, she's dark or she's Guyanese, and that would be an issue.
Yeah.
And the way it was portrayed, that it was actually an issue in real life. Do you think that the show did enough to argue against that kind of thing?
I don't know if that's the show's responsibility, to be honest. To your point, it's a docu-series. You know, it was showing things the way they are. So I don't know how the show would have done that. I guess maybe it would have required a host or a narrator to then explain why this is different or why it's not acceptable. But, you know, to the creative Tismuthy's point, like what she said is she wanted to show things how they are and start a conversation. And from that regard, I think mission accomplished, right? It's definitely started a conversation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know, and I don't think it's the show's responsibility to, you know, solve these things. It's about everyone talking to their parents, to their aunties who are saying these things in real life.
Yeah.
You know, why are people mad at this show? You know, there's like, why you're getting mad at the mirror reflecting society instead of the society itself.
I think a lot of the backlash came from people within our own community, and I think it's this fear of other people finding out how we portray marriage. But the problem is that this is how we actually portray marriage. So in many ways it's really good that they made it like that, because it raised issues.
Yeah, and you know, that's when I said like my mom wasn't involved, like this is kind of why. Like I don't know what demand she's gonna have when she talks to a matchmaker. But yeah, you know, it is the society itself, you know, like they're selling skin lightening creams in India. That's not the show's doing.
That's really true.
It's weird because even like from a young age, I would hear my grandma saying fair and lovely, like it was a phrase, not even like through the brand, if you know what I mean. Like if you're fair, it's always a good thing and it makes you lovely in a way. It's interesting you say that,
Indians are, you know, like growing up, I'm a chubby guy. Growing up, those aunties let me hear it, you know? You know, there's a fair amount of body shaming on the men's side, too.
But I think it was a famous tennis player or a badminton player who said that when she was younger, practicing the sport, all of these aunties would say, "Stop, get out of the sun because it's going to make you dark." And it's crazy to think that actually happened. You know, like that somebody who was so talented was told to stop playing outside because of that. But I guess it's the way our culture is in many ways.
It's weird how the values have changed.
And we were thinking, obviously, our main demographic is students. Would you give anybody our age some sort of relationship advice? What you might have done differently?
I think sort of tied to what we're talking about, right? Is like everyone, like not to worry about what other people think. You know, people are like, oh, what will other people think now that Netflix is airing this show? What will they think of our culture? You know, and I was definitely like guilty of that, especially like growing up in New Jersey where I was like the only brown kid in my elementary school and like was being bullied for my, you know, otherness. And it was sort of beaten into me, like, oh, what are other people going to think? And like, it wasn't until, you know, I got older, just to be like, oh, like maybe that picture was kind of racist, and like it shouldn't have had this outsized impact on me, but it did. And honestly, it wasn't like the show has done a lot for my confidence, you know, like in my anxiety about that in general, like how do I look, what will other people think, you know, it's exposure therapy basically, you know, like what's the most embarrassing thing I could do personally is go on this reality TV show for the world to see. I think, you know, it's probably cliche. It's just like, know who you are, be confident in who you are. There is a little bit of, you know, find that inner Aparna of knowing who you are and what you want and being content with that. And then I think from that, like, things will get better. Because, like, honestly, like, since this show is aired, like my friends have commented, like, oh, you just seem like generally like more confident and about yourself and your demeanor. I was just like, yeah, that's true, because I did like the worst thing I could possibly imagine, and it turned out fine. You know, and then that feeds in itself. And, you know, since the show aired, the dating life is going better than ever.
Oh,
you know?
That's
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
Do you think your outlook on relationships and dating has changed since you've done the show?
Not so much my outlook. I think my demeanor, though, has, like, my inner self, my inner confidence has, like, made me, like, when I go on dates, it's less now. I feel like it's less about, oh, is this person going to like me? Like, let me change my personality to, you know, mirror this person's I like. But now it's like, okay, like, this is who I am. Like, take it or leave it.
That's good. That's admirable.
Yeah.
And are you still in touch with people like Barna and the other guys from the show?
Yeah, so, like, you know, Parna and I, especially, like, in the first, like, month that the show came out, we've been messaging a lot. We had, you know, a Zoom call with some of the, I guess, U.S.-based cast. It was sort of like an impromptu thing. Like, we have, like, we have a private group set up, and, you know, I don't know if it was Vyasa or someone was like, hey, anyone around for, like, a Zoom call? But, like, unfortunately, like, that,
Classic Vyasa.
Yeah,
everyone loves it. But unfortunately, it was, like, time zone wise, like, the Indian cast didn't see it until they woke up, and so I think we're going to try to do one in the next few weeks and try to get everyone together, like, something more schedule. But yeah, you know, I've talked to Shaker and Jay. We have our other group message thread of, like, Aparna's dudes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, you know, everyone has been, like, super supportive of each other, and, you know, I think it's you know, it's a unique experience that you do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Even though I never met them in real life or during filming, it's like I feel there is that bond there.
And before we finish, season 2.
I was just about to ask.
Are you going to be on it?
I have no idea, honestly. I think I don't know if I would do it again, because I, like, sort of escaped with, you know, maximum exposure, minimum screen time. I have zero internet hate right now, which I would like to keep it that way. But, you know, if Seema Auntie was to come back and say, like, I have this perfect girl for you, I would listen. But, you know, hopefully by the time that airs, maybe I'm not in the need of matchmaking services. I'm not, like, you know, like, I don't have any inside information, but given the success of the show, I would say probably. You know, they might want to do more to address some of the problematic things that people have been talking about. And so I don't know if they'd go back to the same people, but, you know, I don't know if I'm still... There's a small pool, I think, of, you know, people that are in Seema's pool, as well as the people who passed the Netflix background check.
You
know, so that was, you know, it was multiple rounds of interviews. I had to take a psychological assessment to make. I think, you know, I think before they put you on TV, they want to make sure you're not going to do, you know, you can handle the fame or the pressure, or you're not going to go crazy and stalk the woman that they introduce you to. So I think there's, you know, different legal things that they have to do. But I'm guessing, a lot more people are going to apply if there is a season 2.
It will definitely be more difficult to get on, I think.
I do have one kind of other question. Do you get recognised on the street, or, like, you're on a date and she's like, oh, I know you from somewhere?
Well, I have gotten once on the street while I was on a date too, so, like, it made me feel, like, really cool. But which is crazy too, because I had a mask on, and then I just hear someone yell, "Oh my God, Dilip!" And I'm like, and I was like, the person also had a mask on. I'm like, where do I know you from? Because this person clearly, like, knows me. I thought it was, like, maybe my old neighbor or something.
Yeah.
And then
forgetting that you're on a
but then I'm like, wait a minute, do I know you? And she's like, no, you don't. I just watched the show, crazy. And I'm a big fan. I'm like, oh, wow, cool. Thanks. So that was really, weird and interesting.
And when you meet someone new, how long do you wait before you bring up the fact that you're on a Netflix show?
So on my Hinge profile, there is a thing like, they have the question prompts, and one of them is, what is something most people don't believe about you? And I was like, I was on a Netflix show. And so I just get that up front with, because it's like, also, if you watch the show and you're still interested in going on a date with me, that makes my life easier.
Yeah. Oh, that's really nice.
Very efficient, just like, I don't know if I watch the show, then let me know.
My bio data's on there anyway. You can
which, by the way, I never got to read or write before I saw it on TV.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they said that about the trailer, too. Like, when they, so this was filmed last year. Like, I went on the date on last August with Aparna. And, I'd almost completely forgotten all about it until, the beginning of July when I got a call from the producers, like, oh, hey, by the way, the show's coming out. I was like, right, I did that. Yeah. They're like, the trailer is going to come out on this date. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, can I see the trailer? Like, am I in it? And they're like, oh, no, it's not done yet. We have, the person I talked to is like, I haven't seen it, but I'll let you know. And then, one day I open up, Instagram and I see myself, right away.
Oh, my God.
And that's when I started to freak out a little, because I'm like, oh, no, way more people are going to see me on this than I ever expected. Because I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but I'm in the first, 5 seconds here. So when people, highlight the show on Netflix, my face shows up. So I did not expect that. And there was a bit of anxiety. It's in the beginning, it's how many people are going to watch an Indian dating show?
No, but when I saw the advert on Netflix for it, I was so happy. I was like, oh my gosh, there is a gap in the market and they found it, because this is exactly something that I'd be interested in watching.
Yeah, and from that was one of the other reasons I did it, from a representation point of view, growing up, I don't know about you, I was the third son, of child of immigrants. My parents are just well, he's just sit in front of the TV, he'll be fine. So I was raised by television as my babysitter, especially trying to learn about American culture and things like that. And never saw someone like me on TV, and I know I still get excited when I see Aziz Ansari or Mindy Kaling, with their new shows. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had this growing up.
Yeah.
So I think that was definitely a part of my reason for doing the show.
Thanks for listening, guys. We obviously want to give a massive thank you to Dilip Aidasani. You're our first ever guest, and I think it went really well.
Yeah, my first ever interview, so thank you for having me.
It's been such a pleasure, honestly. You're a really cool guy, actually. I really like it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
and if you're ever in London around Kings, and give us a shout.
Yeah, hopefully when this is all over, I can make a trip out there. Good luck. But just focus on what you can control, and don't try not to worry about the things you can't. That's the only advice I have.
Wise words. No, so thank you, Dilip, and thank you guys for listening.
Much.
And we're signing out. See you guys on the next episode.
Thank you.